Ladies and gentlemen, during Quantum Leap's run, there have been a series of actors who have gone on to, I won't say better roles, what's better than being in Quantum Leap, but even more reputable roles in their careers. A lot of them have agreed to attend this weekend to be amongst all of you. And if, in fact, you have any questions concerning their series or anything that they have done beyond Quantum Leap, here is your opportunity to meet them and ask them what it is you would like to know. So without any further ado, we'd like to introduce our next cast of 5 guests. First up is the lovely Holly Fields. Okay. Holly Fields is not here right now. Okay. What? Oh, Holly Fields is here. The lovely Holly Fields. Hello, ma'am. Holly Fields, ladies and gentlemen. Cynthia Bain. Where's Cynthia Bain? Here comes Cynthia. Yeah. Lydia Cornell, the lovely Lydia Cornell. Ken Foree, you know Ken Foree. Mr. Jim Townsend, Jim Townsend. And the lovely Crystal Keymah. This is your guest panel from Quantum Leap. Let's give a nice round of applause for them. And let's hear a little bit of what they've been doing. Start whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Well, hi everyone. Are the mics working?
Check, check,
Mics are
check.
working? I was in the pilot, Genesis, and I had short dark hair, and I also started on Too Close for Comfort with Ted Knight. Years before that, as Sarah Rush. And I just want to tell you guys, when I got the part at Universal, David Hemmings cast me on a Friday afternoon. I had no idea what the role really was. I kind of read a short role, and they said, we're going to play with this role when we get to the set. So I go to work. My call time's 5 a.m. Monday morning, Universal. I go with just, my purse. The Teamsters are waiting in a big truck to take us to Lancaster, to Edwards Air Force Base. And they look at me and they go, wow, you travel light. And I went, what do you mean? They go, we're going away for 3 weeks. You're not coming home. And I go, you're kidding me. I don't have anything. I have my toothbrush. And so he said, sorry, you can't get out of the truck now. We have to call time at 8 a.m. So I get out there, and I had to go to Target and buy pajamas, and it was like a fun camp experience. And then the first day on the set, we're in the dressing room, and Don Belisario comes up, and he goes, you have long hair. Your hair has to be short. It's the 50s. All the women had long hair, and I went, you're kidding. He was cut it off. I mean, he was, I love Don. We all looked at him and went, we can't cut our hair. So we drove around with the makeup lady and the wardrobe lady, and we found a short, dark wig, and we made it look like Ava Gardner, and then we had these pregnant, pouches. And I remember they kept hiding the stealth bomber in different hangars to hide it from us, because they didn't want us to see it. I have a lot of funny stories, but let someone else speak.
Let her go. So, wow. No. Anybody else? Somebody.
Okay, I'm Cynthia Bain, and I was in the episode called Blind Faith. And really? Oh, thank you. So it's great to see all of you. It's exciting to know that there's fans of the show still out there. In my episode, Scott was blind. He played a blind pianist. We had a lot of fun with that word. And as probably as you know, because you're fans of the show, Scott can really play. So he really played in that episode. and it was really fun. It was awesome. I really loved that job. And it was one of the rare times that when I auditioned, I auditioned once, and then I guess there was probably a callback. And I remember I went into the callback, or there might have even been 2 callbacks because it was a big part. And when I went to the callback, when I was done reading, and I think this is maybe the only time this happened in my career, they told me I got the part right there in the room. So that was awesome. Yeah, it was really fun. So now I'm an acting teacher. I actually have a theater in Studio City, and I run an acting studio called Cynthia Bain's Young Actor Studio, and I train young actors 25 and under. So it's great to bring all of my experience as an actress when I was in my teens and my 20s to them, and all the mistakes I made, teach them, and hopefully help them avoid some of the things I didn't do so great. So that's me. Thanks for having me.
You have anybody?
Okay, Jim Townsend. I was in Promised Land, and I consider myself lucky because Scott directed that episode, so I got to work with him all week. The reason I remember the episode is the storyline was about a family farm that was going to be threatened by a bank. And at that time, that was sort of the crisis that was happening in mid-America. And it touched home for me because I grew up on a dairy farm that actually about 3 years later was threatened by a bank too. So kind of reality came through that episode. I stayed with acting for a couple more years and then got into production in 1994, and for the past 15 years have been producing film and television. A year and a half ago we took our company public, Empire Film Group, so any of you out there want to buy some stock, feel free. Anyway, again, Quantum Leap was a wonderful experience, wonderful show, class act. All the people from top to bottom were wonderful, and it was a good experience.
Hi, I'm Holly Fields. I was in Kamikaze Kid, and remember that one? It was the 3rd episode ever, and it hadn't aired yet. And I just tested that night for another show for Chris Carter for NBC for the 2nd time, and I didn't get it. Jenny Garth got it, and big mistake. I'm just kidding. Who's she now? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, never heard of her. But so I was going home, and my agent called and said, "Can you get over to Universal really fast? And there's this new show called Quantum Leap." And so I'm like, "No, I don't want to go." So my eyes were all puffy, but I went anyway. I went in and met Don Belisario and everybody, and I just loved them. And I was driving home, and I was told I got the part. So a few days, I think it was the next Monday, I started the show, and it was the best experience. I was really confused though, because 1 minute I'm talking to Cam, and then I'm kissing Sam, and I didn't know about the time travel concept. So I was like, "Oh, it's a typo." But it was my first screen kiss ever too, and I was 13, and I hadn't even kissed a boy or a guy, and here I am kissing Scott Bakula.
Wow.
Holly, excuse me for a minute. Speaking of certain scenes, this is your life.
All right. Oh God. Okay, so that kiss, by the way, we had shot it at the train station, and my first kiss, I was just like shaking, and Scott was so nice. He's like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay," and then we did it and got it over with, and then 2 days later we're over at Universal, and Alan, the director, comes up and he's like, Alan Levy, and he goes, "We're gonna have to redo the kiss again," and I'm like, "Yeah," right? Because it was funny to everyone because I was so embarrassed about it. So I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking because it was the first time he ever had to disappear during the kiss. So here we are at Universal, having to shoot up because we have no background now. I'm on 3 apple boxes because Scott's so tall, so I'm trying not to fall off. And the false eyelashes really were. I was like, ugh. And then next door they're doing Dick Tracy. So Madonna was there and Warren Beatty, and they just broken for lunch, and they're all coming out, and they're all like, seriously, 100 people watching my kiss. And my mom was there taking pictures. So it was great. So there you go. You got to see it.
Okay, let's see who you recognize on this screen. Any questions? Remember again, microphone's on the side. But in the meantime, we'd like to hear a little bit more of how you guys went through the audition processes, and if there's any other maybe well-known individuals or not so well-known individuals who were up against that same role that you guys auditioned for, if anyone can elaborate or touch on that.
I barely remember the audition. I just remember at the time I was on In Living Color, and my agent thought that that was just work enough for me, but I maintained that I could do lots of jobs at once, and I was threatening to leave the agent, and all of a sudden I had this audition for Quantum Leap, and I really don't even remember the audition. I just remember that the show was already on at the time, and I liked the show, and it was really, really fun to do something other than my series.
Yeah. Did all of
Like
the
I was
girls
playing
go in?
cookie.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No,
Did
no.
all of the girls go in for including Scott, go in for costume fittings at the same time? I bet that was a sight.
Well, it was interesting because that episode was the first time that he had ever played a black woman. He played a black man and he'd played a woman, but it was the first time he played a black woman, so we got a lot of press out of that. And it was, anytime Scott was in a dress, that was always funny. But the thing that I think I remember most was that Dean Stockwell got a really big kick out of making me look at him, which you're not supposed to do because he's not supposed to really be there. And he, like every scene, he would catch me looking at him, and he would do little things that no one else could see, but I could see, and he would make me look at him. And but it was very, very fun. It was a very fun episode.
That's cool. That's cool. Anyone have any questions? If not, you guys have any other background stories?
Well, I remember I just done the show, my guest star, and then 2 episodes later they couldn't find a girl for the role, so they had me come down to Universal and wait while all the other girls auditioned for another episode. And they said if we didn't like any of the girls, you go right to wardrobe and start the next day. But they ended up hiring Amy Foster, who was awesome.
Oh.
But I was so bummed. I was so bummed.
Cool.
But it would have been weird having 2 episodes guest starring pretty much in a row, but I wouldn't mind.
Ken, do you play pool at all?
No. But I got a chance to meet Bags. And
Oh, yeah.
And he had just finished the pool tournament with Minnesota Fats and with Moscone and those guys. And I was just, every break we had, I said, tell me more stories, Bags, tell me more stories. So he just kept it going, the whole shoot. And I do play pool, and I'm a fan, but I just, he didn't have a moment to relax. It was totally, Bags, would you shoot this one? Show me this, show me how you shoot this, make a trick shot here, do this, do that. So I had a great time with him. That was wonderful.
And how many run-throughs were choreographed between you and Scott for your fight scene? Did you do that in one take?
We did it pretty much in one take, Pretty much, in the early part of my career, I did a lot of heavies. And I don't think, I auditioned for Balasaurus for maybe 4 or 5 times. And I think they just called me in and said, Ken, we got something, would you do this? And I said, yeah, okay. So and I had done so many heavy roles, so I knew stunts and that kind of thing and how to handle myself. And Scott was very good, so I think we did it in 1 or 2 takes, no more than that.
Yeah, of course, we all know your skill of running from zombies, so you kept in shape from that.
Right.
Jim, did you ever play any other cop roles after that or before that, for that matter?
Oh, yeah. I was several times cast as a cop. At that time, when I was mid-20s, in the case with Quantum, I went over to the initial casting, and like every other time I walk in, and there's 15 other guys that look just like me, same height, same look. And then you go to the callback, and there's 4 guys left, and you walk in, and you do it, and you kind of go away with, well, what's going to make me different than the other 3 guys that look exactly like me? So, yes, early in my career, I was always bagged as a good guy, cop, news reporter, you name it. But yes, I played cop on TV Bloopers and Practical Jokes, where we went out and played a series of jokes on celebrities for Dick Clark, and he had us play some different jokes on people, and I was the generic cop that kind of went in and arrested, like Danny DeVito, while Michael Douglas was standing there laughing, and we literally had Danny going into the car, and he thought he was going to jail, and that's when I always remember. So that was my days as a cop.
I'll tell you something. I learned something while doing Quantum Leap. We had, you get your call sheet for the next day. And I glanced at it, and the guy that was playing my partner, and I glanced at it, and he didn't. and I misread it. And I told him, and we were leaving, and he said, "What time's call tomorrow?" And I said, "Oh, 8:30. And so we were both late. We were both late. And I swore on my mother's life that it said 8:30. And I had arguments with everyone. and I ended up saying, "I'm a professional. I'm never late. I know what I'm doing here." And it goes to show that you're never quite sure of what might happen if you don't pay attention. And I learned from that point always to pay very close attention to your calls. She didn't know when you're coming in, because it really upset a lot of people. And it upset my partner, because he's looking at me, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I said, "Oh, I thought it said 8:30. So that was a lesson. That was a lesson.
Obviously, Scott and Dean were already on set.
They were on
waiting
set.
to-
Everybody was on set except for
where's
me
Ken?
and my partner. And
Ken's running from zombies right
I'm
now.
waltzing in and saying, "What do you mean I'm late?" I'm here. This is the time. It's horrible. But I learned.
Lydia,
Yeah.
you still using cream on your legs?
Cream on my lips?
Yeah, no, legs. Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, there were a lot of really funny scenes. One with the Blue Angels, the Air Force. Did Don Belisario hire the Air Force to fly over? Do you remember the pilot episode with the little boy playing baseball? I think we had the Air Force scheduled to fly over the house that day. I mean, it was amazing. It was the most amazing shot in the world. And I was drinking beer and I was pregnant, and I kept saying, they said, "It's the 50s. You drank beer when you were pregnant." And there was a great scene in the barbecue outside. And I love the girls I worked with. And I love the director, David Hemmings, who, by the way, David Hemmings, he died. He was in Gladiator. He also was in a ancient movie in London called Blow Up. Amazing movie,
great
Blow
movie,
Up,
great
by
movie.
Michael
Oh.
Antonielli,
Oh, my
directed
God.
it.
Yeah.
If you remember, a British movie. And then he went on to direct me in 3 other shows. I did he directed me in A-Team and in Hardball.
What did he play in Gladiator?
In Gladiator, he played one of the really debauched Roman.
Oh,
Remember
yes.
He
I
had
know what
this
he
fat
played.
baby face
He
with
had
big
the
blue eyes.
wig on.
Yeah.
Oh, he
Really
was the
blonde
announcer
hair.
for the Gladiator games.
Yeah. He was
really,
a gorgeous
Yeah.
man when he was young, and he got,
He was a
died.
heartthrob.
He was a heartthrob, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was always doing action movies. I did all these Hunters and Knight Rider and race car things, and he made me do my own stunts in A-Team. I'll never forget, the helicopter came right close to my head.
They tried to kill everybody on A-Team. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And James Whitmore Jr., who's going to be here Sunday, directed a Hunter episode I did as well, and Ken did 2 Hunters.
Right.
So we love this family, and Bruce McGill was in my episode, Genesis.
Bruce
Brilliant
McGill.
character actor.
Sure.
I just wish he was here. I love him.
So, Lydia, may I ask, when you were given the script for a show called Quantum Leap, and you pretty much read through the synopsis of what it was all about, some people may argue that Quantum Leap was or was not sci-fi, okay? But
Yeah.
using maybe the thought that, wait a minute, this is science fiction, and being back in there in the 80s and how a lot of people were trying to distance themselves from being stereotyped as sci-fi actors, what did you think when you first got that script and said, well, is this what? You tell me.
Well, I'm obsessed with time travel, and I'm a sci-fi fanatic. So to me, this was the ultimate show. And I was a Trekkie also early on. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan and everything. Yay! But this was the ultimate show to me. I thought this has got to go because it had everything. In our episode, I wasn't really sure what it was going to become because it took a while to figure it out. I didn't know that every episode wouldn't be at Edwards Air Force Base. We didn't see the whole, the panoply.
privy to that.
Yeah, we weren't privy to that yet. And I think they were all very nervous because they had a lot of logistics. We were out in the desert, and we were in this old 1950s house that they did the right stuff in, the same house
that
that they
house.
used for the right stuff. And it was a little discombobulated, not knowing we were going to wear a wig and how we were all kind of panicking because they were shooting my scenes the day. I had to be there 3 weeks. It started snowing in the middle of the Christmas holiday. We were out there for Christmas together, staying in a hotel together, and we didn't know, the schedule wasn't really firm on when they were going to shoot the women's scenes. So it was difficult. It was a little scary, not knowing anything. He almost said you have to cut your hair, and by law, the actors' union would have flipped out because an actor doesn't have to cut their hair to get a role, but
They bit more.
He might have
Stick it
told-
to you a little bit. Right?
He might have told us that, earlier than Friday. But it was fun. It was just brand new. It was like being pioneers in a show like that.
Lydia, I'm sorry, Cynthia, I'm going to have a question for you too, but something just struck my mind. And a lot of people are here for all of you, but we know, Scott and Dean being the actors or the stars of the show. Pretty much Quantum Leap leaped Scott's career into the stratosphere. But working with a veteran actor such as Dean Stockwell, which I'm a fan of, the boy with green hair, if you
Yeah,
remember when he was
Of
back in the 40s, I think 40 somebody, 1940?
50s, wasn't it?
No, it was 40s.
It was a.
Wait,
He couldn't
Really?
be. It's not
It was color.
50.
wasn't
It had to be 50.
Wasn't he in all the beach movies too?
Wow.
1950.
All right, somebody
5-0.
pull up IMBD.
5-0.
Yeah, really? 5-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess my question is, being at least around a veteran actor such as Dean, although you were going into a show with Scott as well, I mean, what was your impression, or did you even know who Dean Stockwell was when you were asked to go
absolutely.
Oh yeah, I
Are you
didn't.
kidding?
Yeah, in
You didn't?
Universal, I was excited to meet him. He was a little more aloof. Scott was just down with us at the dinner every night in the hotel. We all kind of wore our pajamas. I didn't have anything to wear. I just wore my pajamas. And
Okay.
we had this kind of weird Christmas party in the bar with all the actors, and it was a brand new show. Scott was excited. Dean was a little more removed, but to me he's an icon because my mother was a fan of him.
My God.
Of his.
Well, it was very
And, yeah,
difficult for
tell
a
me.
child star to
Make that
make a
transition.
career,
Yeah.
as an adult star, and it doesn't happen often, and he was able to do it, and still is acting, so he's done well.
I didn't know who he was at all, and he was so nice. I think because I was a kid, and both he and Scott were so wonderful. And I would actually go to Universal if I were working on other projects there or auditioning, and I would go hang out with them on the set of Quantum Leap whenever I was there. And Dean and Scott would be like, "Come look at the new set. We're doing this episode," and they'd describe the episode. They were so nice, and the crew was the best crew I've ever worked with. And everyone, it was the best
Yeah.
experience, seriously, out of all the shows I've ever done. That was my top, so. and
Is
Scott
Dean
is
going to be
amazing.
here?
Who?
Is Dean Stockwell going to be here?
Unfortunately, something came up, and
Really?
he had to cancel his appearance, much to our dismay.
I just did an autograph show with him a year and a half ago, Dragon Con.
Oh, Dragon
and
Con.
we have a picture taken together. And
A year and a half ago, you were in I was in
No,
Dragon Town
no.
with him.
Oh, maybe it was the year before that.
Yeah.
were there
Dragon
both
Con.
times?
I was there. One,
When was
I
that,
was
Paul? I have a good picture with him. I've got to get it reproduced.
Old home week.
Maybe mine was 2 years ago.
let
3
me
years
think.
ago.
What's his name from?
Well, while you guys are thinking, I want to get to my question. I want to get to my
Sorry.
question for Cynthia there, since everyone has pretty much had their turn. I understand you're teaching actors right now as we speak. During your role on Quantum Leap, which dealt with obviously war and combat or anything like that, have you had any experience whatsoever giving instructions to people who have been in maybe Gulf War or Iraq War or whatever and have wanted to become an actor? Have you come across anyone like that?
In my classes?
Yeah, in your classes.
No, because I have a young actor studio, so it's 25 and under.
Oh, 25 and under.
25 and under, yeah. So
Qualifies me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one thing I did talk about just the other day, ironically, was that in the scene with Jennifer Rhodes, who played my mother, and I think she's coming on Sunday. She was really nice lady, but in the episode played like a really strict, mean mother, and she had to slap me in the scene. And I was telling my students the other night, because in the scene that they were doing, actually this was last night, in the scene that they were doing, one character has to slap the other, but we were rehearsing, they hadn't gotten that far yet. And so in the scene I did with Jennifer Rhodes, they told her to really slap me. Yeah.
Did they
hadn't-
ask you first?
No, they said, to try to hit on the lower part of your jaw. It doesn't hurt as much if you slap here as opposed to here. So she hit me really hard, repeatedly. And take after take. It wasn't just one take.
really?
And yeah. And like after about 5 times, I was like, this is hurting.
Stop standing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Where's my manager?
And my face was really, really red, and so they couldn't even really shoot that side of my face anymore because it was so red that you could tell that there was going to be a slap coming. So after like 5 or 6 times of slapping me, finally I spoke up, and they did something else. I think they had her fake it and used one of the takes.
I would have did the fake first.
I know.
That didn't work.
Yeah. It was really interesting. I don't know if they still do slaps that way. Probably not.
Okay, I have to tell a quick
Here we
story
go.
about slapping. I don't know if you ever seen the play A Raisin in the Sun.
Yes.
Well, I did A Raisin in the Sun at the Goodman in Chicago, and I played Beneatha, the daughter who gets slapped. And Irma P. Hall, wonderful woman, who's actually doing it again now somewhere, she does it often, has to slap me, and she felt so bad. And we tried the stage slap, and it didn't work because she has bursitis, so she couldn't fake it. She had to wind up and wow, or it just wouldn't look good. And so I said, go for it, Irma. Now this is only once, no 7 takes. This is only once a night, but it was like baseball. Wow. And it hurt so bad that my head rang, and I have the exit. She exits first, and by the time I come off, she's backstage cringing, and I'm, cut. Then I went, so cut to the show. The Beneatha does all kinds of stuff. She runs, she dances, and by the time I got home from doing that, I had to go straight to the doctor. And I said, fix my knee. I was dancing, it was crazy. And I was going to a doctor that plugged these machines up to your body, and the machines told the doctor what was wrong with you. And she says, I'm getting your neck. I'm like, no, it's my knee. I was dancing, I got a bed. No, it's your neck. So finally I asked, okay, do my neck. What's wrong with my neck? She says, your jaw's dislocated. But the play was good.
That's every night.
Yeah.
Every night you've got to go on stage and know that hit is coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I don't, because the character doesn't. And so you're in the moment, and you don't know it's coming, and it's a surprise every night. And
You're good. You're good. I would have blinked a few nights. Here it comes.
I don't want to be an actor anymore. Okay, we have a question here. Janine?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Janine.
Hi.
Hi, Judy.
I have to say, I had to slap someone last time, but we were more scared about doing the screen kiss because there was like a 30-year age gap. So it was more scary doing that than the slap. I've got a question for you, Holly, and I think all the ladies in here will back me up on this. What was it like to kiss Scott? Was it nice? Because I've been dreaming
My
about
first
that for years.
kiss-
Damn thing for me.
It's
We want DNA genetic details.
you go from kissing Scott Bakula as your first kiss ever. It's all downhill from there. But I've gotten kiss Richard Dean Anderson, Joey Lawrence. I've gotten some good kiss. Like all the guys I've ever had a kiss or gotten to kiss, but been the cutest guys. So. But I think Scott was probably the best. But I was the most nervous. I didn't know how to kiss. I had practiced on the
Can that be you?
But he was so sweet and gentle about it, and just you could tell he's such a nice guy. Like seriously, he is the nicest guy.
Yeah.
And Dean.
Really?
Jim,
And Don.
Ken, what's it like to kiss Scott Baxter?
Absolutely horrible.
Really?
Yes.
I
Boy, I
plead
can't
the
kiss at
fifth.
all.
I take the
Terrible kisser.
I was supposed to kiss on Jag that David. I don't know his name. James Elliott. That man is
James
tall.
Elliott,
Yeah, I mean, we had to not do it because I had to jump to kiss him. I mean, Scott's tall, but at least we had apple boxes. But being on apple boxes, it was kind of embarrassing because, you want it to be romantic and your mom there, hiding. Seriously, she was hiding behind a tree, taking pictures. And then Dean was sitting there. You could see him in the pictures, just smiling, watching. I don't know. It was great and embarrassing at the same time. I would do it again in a second.
Jim?
Yes.
Since you're closely into the production end of Hollywood right now, currently we have approximately 11, 12 countries and 32 states in attendance at this convention. That's just this weekend alone. Some of them are down at Deborah Pratt getting their autograph. For any aspiring actor, and I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, but any aspiring actor who wants to come to this town and get into the industry, and actually this goes to anybody, but Jim probably first, what would your recommendation be?
Well, first off, a lot of people don't have to leave their home state nowadays to get started. Almost, I'm guessing, 2/3 of the states now have some type of film production tax incentive, which is drawing production to states like North Carolina, Louisiana, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Michigan,
Michigan's big.
and they're drawing a lot of productions there. And when you go on location, you know,
Texas.
every state's doing it but California. You know, you're going to hire a certain amount of local talent. Obviously, your extras are going to be hired locally. If you're in the Midwest, you may go to Chicago. If you're on the East, you may go to New York to get some of your higher up the chart actors. But, you know, you're going to hire your day players. You may hire, if you're in Wilmington or somewhere like that, there's a great base of actors that are already there. So for anyone that wants to check it out, start first with checking the extra agencies and some of the talent agencies that are within your state. Make yourself available to drive, you know, within a couple hours to possibly audition or, you know, check with local acting coaches, acting teachers, agents. You know, you do have to be careful of the agents and managers and what they're going to charge you, and that's a whole nother, we could sit here and talk hours on that. But, you know, start locally. When you first do come to LA, you know, obviously the talent pool is very crowded here. People start out. I always tell people, get a good acting coach. And I think one's right here now, but you have to get into some type of class or some type of coaching situation and learn. Most people come from a theater background in college or from New York and theater, and it's a different world. I mean, it's all the same process, but it's out here it's a different way with television and the way that casting happens and getting sides in certain parts of the script and identifying with the character. You know, with films it might be a little different in the process of putting you on tape and being auditioned, and the difference of reading with a casting director as opposed to reading actually for the final decision maker, whether that be the director, the producer, or the combination of both. So, but I think more than ever, the advantage is there for someone to look within their own state or in their own country. If you're in Canada, I think everybody here has probably worked in Canada one time or another, Vancouver and Toronto being the leading in Canada. You know, the only place I know that's cut back where they won't be filming is in Mexico. So,
You went to St. Lawrence University on a wrestling scholarship.
yeah, that was another lifetime.
Okay.
Talk about quantum leap.
So your major was acting and your minor was
actually,
wrestling. Okay.
I did. I got involved, went there for sports and on a scholarship, but got involved in the theater program. And actually, one of my teammates on the wrestling team was John Irving's son, and his dad was doing a movie in Montreal called Hotel New Hampshire, and that was my first start and first part. So,
Wow.
So thanks to the sport, I got into acting.
Any other advice from anyone on the panel for any aspiring actors out here who might want to enter that realm?
Do it for the passion of loving being creative, not just being cute. If you're just known as a cute face, that's a whole different profession. Although, you know, it doesn't hurt to have a cute face.
And do it because you love it. Don't do it for the money or the fame. Just do it because
It's
you
fun.
love it. It's the best job ever. I started out in Dallas, and I got lucky because, you know, I was young and not much competition. But it's true now. They used to do local hire. I mean, now they're doing local hire. Before they'd hire here, then fly you out. More and more it's happening where, like, they'll hire the guest stars in Vancouver and Dallas. That's in San Diego even. So you don't have to be in LA anymore, which makes it a lot easier. But a lot of the big stuff is here, but it's more dispersed now. So.
Anyone in any, I'm sorry, Ken, go ahead.
Well, I have a friend in Indiana, and his name is Ivan Rogers. I don't know if you know him, Mark.
What's his name?
Ivan Rogers. He's out of Indiana, out of Indianapolis. He's been producing, directing, starring in his own films for about 20 years. He sells them at Cannes, when Meatfed was going, he was going over
Right,
there.
yeah.
And so certainly Berlin, all the festivals. It sets up right next to Universal, between Universal and Paramount. And he sells his films, and he's been doing it for 20 years. Wow. Shot them all in Indiana, majority of them in Indiana. And it goes back to that Fred Williamson thing, when Fred used to shoot that. It was a joke. When Fred started, oh, you're doing a Fred Williamson show?
Yeah.
He's shooting it in 5 days or 12 days, and they said, oh my God, this is crazy and it's crap. Now everyone is following. Fred was a pioneer, and everyone's
Yeah.
following that.
You can make your own movies and TV shows now. It's become so easy on digital and the web with webisodes. And I did a movie in Greece. Did anyone see the Red Tide Demon Island with James Earl Jones and Jose Ferrer?
That's when you're
We were talking about Red Tide Demon Island. They changed. It was a mythological horror film, and all these Oscar winners were in it. Lila Kedrova, who was in Zorba the Greek.
Right.
Jose Ferrer and James Earl Jones, and it was my first movie, and we spent 3 months in the Greek Isles in a primitive Byzantine castle on the Aegean. It was really an interesting experience. But you just got back from Serbia. He was in Serbia. But there's a lot of European films that you can, there's a market for films. I think entertainment industry is going to thrive during the economic crisis
And the internet.
and the internet.
Right now,
Yeah.
there's, no one knows exactly how this works and how to make it pay, profitable. But everyone's in it. All the major studios in it, Sony, Warner Brothers, Universal, everybody's in it, but no one knows how to make it profitable.
But the agents comb the internet for good creative material.
But
No,
it's advertising.
they
That's
want-
what's going to drive it, just like everything else.
That's what they said, but they said,
Yeah.
they say also they want to start to change the mindset so the customer starts to buy instead of getting it free.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But product placement is going to change a lot too.
Can you elaborate on that?
I think right now that there's a big shift in media. A lot of newspapers are closing. A lot of television shows don't have the advertising. Even the Oscars and the Super Bowl were hurting for the advertising dollars that they're used to. And so everything is changing because of the internet, and because there not only just are there the cable open up by 600 channels, 900, however many channels there are. Now the internet is a different kind of free television, a different kind of free movie source. And although you can see a lot of, and frankly, union-wise, illegally, TV shows, most TV shows you watch full episodes right now on the internet. Actors aren't being paid for
The
that.
actors are not being paid.
But they're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, after.
They're doing it because they realize that's where the people are. And whereas the advertising has not quite switched, the powers that be are thinking of how to sneak in advertising so that they can continue to cheat actors and others out of union wages. And the best way to do that is to do product placement so that they can say, no, we still don't have advertising. And you don't notice, but clearly I can see Coca-Cola at the bottom of this thing. And that, in my opinion, is how the shift is going to take place.
Right.
They have FearNet the New York Times ran an article about 4 months ago, and they stated that FearNet, which is with Sony and Ghost House and those guys, had pretty much a idea as to how to make it profitable. So if you could look up that article and go to the New York Times and check that article on FearNet, you'll find that they have a pretty good
Young lady on the
handle
other side of the room has a question, obviously.
Yeah, I do. First, I wanted to say that something about the performances of the guest actors in Quantum Leap was so vivid. So those characters, even if you only saw them one time, you remembered them. They stayed with you. And I wanted to thank you all for that.
You're welcome.
My question is for Keymah. I loved Song for the Soul. My favorite line, Dang Cherie, you dance like a white girl. Can you tell us anything about rehearsing or performing the dance sequences in that episode?
It was a lot of fun. That was my line. It was really fun, and I think that Scott in particular just tried extra hard not to be like the lame white kid in the group, and he got things really fast. I don't know if he was rehearsing when we weren't rehearsing, or or if he just was really learning things as we learned them. But it wasn't like a big, oh, let's wait for Scott to get the beat at all. It was all three of us on the same page, and I had a dance experience. I don't even remember if Tammy Townsend, who was wonderful, had any dance experience, but it wasn't a big thing. We had a lot of fun. I remember, and I don't remember even, I'm ashamed to say, who choreographed, but I remember that period of time when we were rehearsing the dances, and it wasn't a lot of time. I mean, I was amazed at their schedule. That was the first hour-long I had done, and it was just crazy how hard Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell worked, and it was like shooting a movie every single week. And while we were working on that, they already had pages for the next week, and they were doing editing or looping for the week before. And so it was, I was just very much in awe of both of them, but particularly of Scott, the singing and the dancing. And, you know, we had moments where, you know, he wasn't quite with the song. But they were few and far between, and most of all, we just had fun with it. All three of us had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I just want to say one thing. Scott Bakula was so nice that for years after that, he would always send me a Christmas card and just be really a good friend.
Yeah.
Really sweet guy.
I ran into him actually a few years ago, and I look a lot different now. And I was at a party, and I was like, "Hi, you probably don't remember me." He's like, "Oh my God, of course I remember you." And he gave me the biggest hug, and everyone was staring, and it was embarrassing. But he totally remembered. He's seriously, and Dean Stockwell, they're the nicest guys, and they're probably the top favorite I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
So.
Cool beans. Okay, we have a question on this side here.
It was interesting what you said about the way the industry is changing. I did a survey the other night on the computer, and it said, asking me what I do, like, you know, do I read newspapers, do I watch TV? And I was like, no, I don't read the paper, I don't watch TV, I don't. And then it got to the internet, and it was like, well, how many hours a day do you spend on the internet? And it was like about 3 or something like that. But I find with myself now, I just do not have the time to sit down and watch TV and watch any series or anything like that on TV. So I buy them, like the series that I like, I'll buy them on the disc sets, and when I get the chance, I'll watch them. It took me 2 years to watch Quantum Leap. I finished the series last Friday because I was flying out. So it's like, I just had to get this show finished. I knew I loved it, I just had to get it finished. But how do you think that will change the way these series are produced? Is that like the norm, or do a lot of people in America still get the time to actually sit down and watch their favourite series week after week? Or is it tending to lean towards more of downloading it off the internet and buying the series and watching it when you have the time, as opposed to when the networks tell you have to watch it?
TiVo.
Do you think that's
TiVo. That's what my son does.
TiVo, DVR, right? Yeah,
So
I
that-
have
4 TiVos.
15 episodes of ER that's backed up at home. I just don't have
Yeah,
time to
so
watch it.
that's what people tend to do these days. So how do you think that'll affect shows like Quantum Leap, which obviously got taken off the air because, for whatever reason, whether it was because they weren't attracting enough audience? In today's world, will series like Quantum Leap stay on a bit longer because they're going to be released on box
They
sets?
don't do action. They don't do these big series anymore. All the big action series of the 80s are gone. Or 90s.
Well, see, they're the ones
too
I'm catching up
expensive.
with on the 80s, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm still catching up with them.
Do they have any? Journeyman was. I would love to see that.
Journeyman was great. But
Yeah. What
again,
happened?
they took it off
They
the
took it
network.
off. Yeah, what happened?
They took the
So
off,
good.
They took it off the network after about 4 nights, and then put it onto digital, and we didn't have digital then at our house, so I couldn't watch it anymore.
How do you know,
I know.
what shows to buy if you don't watch them on TV?
Well, I got Quantum Leap because a friend of mine kept telling me how good it was back in the 80s. So I actually got it off Big Pond Movies, which is like where they send you the discs. You sign up like a online DVD shop, they send you the discs. And I know I like science fiction, so I tend to would get the first couple of episodes on Big Pond Movies and then watch them, and if I like them,
And then you
great, I'll
keep
keep
going.
getting them. If I don't, I'll send them back. Well, that's what happened with Quantum Leap. I got the first few and I loved it, so I just kept getting them. Then I bought the box sets, and then I'm here.
That's great.
From a very long way away.
I have a question then, based on someone catching up to a series. It's taking you 2 years This is an age test, obviously, but how many people in this room saw the debut episode of Quantum Leap that year? How many people who was not born?
Yeah.
Who was not? There's a couple people who were not even born when Quantum Leap debuted. I'm so damn old. I'm so old. Okay, Bex, you want to follow up?
Yeah, I just want to know, so the answer to my question is how do you think that's going to change the way they produce series? You're saying they don't do any big series anymore, so what are they replacing them with?
Well, actually, I just
Reality
coached on a
shows.
pilot. I mean, it's a kid show, but I just coached on a pilot called The Troop. Well, I coached on it last year, but it got picked up, and they're going into production, I think, next month. And in it, there's a trio of young actors. They're in their teens, and it's sort of like Harry Potter. They fight creatures and monsters. So there's
That's cool.
That's a.
it's for Nickelodeon television.
Okay, I was about to say, what age group is that directed towards?
I think
Gotta be,
teens and preteens.
The Harry Potter crowd.
Harry Potter, yeah,
basically.
it's like a Harry Potter type of show.
And again, if they show that on TV and it doesn't do very well, will they be canning it straight away, or?
I think that they did a pilot. We did the pilot last year in Vancouver, and there was I know a lot of special effects, a lot of post-production to it with the creatures and the fighting of the creatures, and but they did pick it up for 13 at least.
Okay, cool.
But I'm talking about the Knight Rider. I did a Knight Rider. In those days, Canon Studios had all these A-team with helicopters. and it was so expensive, I think, to do these big action shows.
A lot of pyrotechnics.
Well,
all over.
Yeah.
and now they CGI with the horror, the sci-fi things that they're doing on television now. So it's a lot easier. It's still
Computerized.
expensive though. Still very
Yeah.
expensive.
Jim, did you find that in your production days?
Yeah, there were two things that happened in the last, 6-7 years that have changed network television. One is news programming, and two is reality television.
Yeah.
Both those hour formats can be done
Kardashians.
very, very inexpensively. And, so it gave the networks a real challenge when they wanted to produce something that was action. Quantum Leap, I don't know what the budgets were, but I got to believe it was fairly expensive because it was a type of show that had to be prepped and redone each week. When you're in a series, if you have a consistent storyline that's contemporary time and you're just changing the situation each week to something that's still contemporary. But with Quantum Leap, each week it was a movie, like you said. I mean, they had to jump to a different time. That required extensive research in wardrobe and costume design and set dressing. So each week was different. So it can get expensive. What they look for in a series is the longevity. Can they get to 3 or 4 seasons where it can be sold as a syndicated package where you're going to be able to see it on the Sci-Fi Channel and all the different networks later on. And now the secondary market, which you talked about, is DVD sales. Can it be packaged as a library of DVD? 24 is extremely expensive, but they know there's such a core following and there's a lot of product placement, as you discussed on product placement, in that show that helps the network recover some of the reason that they keep the show going. And you see the DVDs out, they do very well. That show one day will be on syndicated probably for quite some time. So that's a perfect example was a show recently, Dirty Sexy Money, which was on ABC. The numbers were decent. The numbers were okay, but the show just got so expensive. Their cast budget was so heavy. They said it was around $4.5 million an episode because of the cast. But I mean, that's
Back 20 years
it's
ago, it was
canceled.
4.5?
No.
No.
Dirty Sexy, on ABC.
No.
And
One
if
just got canceled.
if you're ABC, you could go get The Nanny or one of these other shows that probably cost 1/5
The
to make
Kardashians.
per hour.
And the Kardashians.
So they really weigh it out. Is this show going to have in the long run where we can recoup in syndication and DVD? And how's it going to play in foreign? Is our foreign audiences going to get it? So it's appeal in foreign DVD and syndication that they really look at.
I did a show one time called Whole High for NBC, and Disney produced it. And it was a musical number, and Kenny Ortega directed it. And they took us off the air. We were sold for 13, but they took us off at the 7th or 8th episode because it was so expensive. But then they ended up remaking it into a movie of the week, and it was High School Musical. And they took the same, and that pissed me off. Yeah, so you never know, but they took it off the air because it was too expensive. We were doing
I
really
love High School Musical.
Sure you do.
You know, when I'm cleaning my
too.
toenails, need something to watch. Yeah, High School Musical. There you are.
Are they going to make Quantum Leap into a movie? Like a
That'd be
feature?
great.
Wouldn't that
That'd
be
be
great?
great.
X-Files, Quantum Leap
Into a movie?
into a movie.
That's the question.
Well, is someone here to answer that?
If you demand it, they will.
They will.
And we want each and every one of you to have a guest starring role with me as your manager. Okay, we still have a little bit of a backlog downstairs with the autograph session. So we're going to still, I mean, if these guys would
We're having a
at
great
least
time.
honor us for another
Yeah,
couple minutes with a few questions.
I have an anecdote about having to learn something. I learned something painful. Wear a wig. That's what I learned, especially if it's a period piece and your hair is supposed to be straight when your real hair is not at all straight.
Oh.
Because I had to straighten my hair as it was the 50s or 60s or whatever it was, and it happened that we were shooting outdoors, and it started to drizzle.
Oh.
And I don't know if you ever seen a little colored girl with her hair pressed in the rain, but it went from this to this to this. And the poor hair department, they just didn't know what to do with me. And we had to stop and try to get it back to that. And then it went, and then back again. And after that, I invested in some wigs.
Yeah. Well, I remember those Afro days on myself when I had to turn sideways to get through a door, Yeah.
And that's fine if that's your intention.
Yeah.
But
Ken, you ever have hair?
Nice you to mention that, Mark. Yes. As a matter of fact, and I look at that little clip of me in Quantum Leap, and I think, who is that skinny guy? Still bald-headed, but thin. Yeah, I had hair. When I began, I had
Still
hair.
looking good, dude. You
I'm
matured gracefully.
I'm trying to hold up, man.
Yeah.
Please.
In fact, all of you look fantastic. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago when these guys were on. All of you look unbelievably. Well, let's go to the women, actually.
Well, I have to say, in my episode, they uglied me. Like, I wasn't allowed to wear any makeup, not even lip gloss, and they made me, it was hard.
Yeah, but I could see through that. I
that.
could
There
see
was
the
some
beauty
cute
that was
underneath.
coming out in your acting.
Pretty girl.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer and Frankie and Johnny.
Hurley,
Yeah.
you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out. I'm from the UK, and unfortunately, unless you've got cable or Sky or premium channels, don't get to watch a lot of the American programs that they used to show back in the good old days, such as Quantum Leap and the A-Team and stuff. But I just wanted to ask a question about whether you guys worked against blue or green screen, and how you find it sort of, whether it's a fun thing to do or whether it's quite difficult working against such composition as opposed to working on an actual set with props and designs and something quite elaborate.
Depends on your imagination. Blue screen. If you're, some actors have such great imaginations that the screen, they're right there in the moment. Sometimes it's hard because you're acting to an X.
Yeah, that's, sometimes, I mean, because I'm an extra back at home, and sometimes when I walk on sets, the sets and designs are really nice, and you can put your mind into it.
Be there.
Yeah, and other times I walk on, it's just all green. and then they just go to the actor, just do your stuff. And then I just wondered how, whether you've got a mindset for that and how it works.
Yeah.
It's imagination.
yeah,
it's
I
imagination.
didn't work green screen on Quantum Leap, but I've done it before in a lot of shows, and I love it. I'm a director and a producer as well, and I like to know how things work.
Yeah.
And I've also worked with animals and children, so I'm used to people or other people, playing opposite someone who's, a cat or a baby who's in their own thing. And so having to, do the whole scene in my own mind anyway. And so I like to look at a green screen and know what it's going to be once they fill in the blanks. And I like to imagine what it's going to be. So I see the set, whether it's a green screen or not.
What was post-production like? You guys obviously had your readings. You went to the studios. You sat in the boardroom with all the writers and producers, directors, whoever around. In terms of the readings, could you actually get a visual, like you were saying, based on the setup of how the scene was going to be set up before you actually entered the studio to execute it?
You mean the auditions?
No.
No,
Wait,
this is an hour long. There's no like table
there's no
read.
Oh.
You jump right in.
Yeah, you don't sit around.
Yeah, we started the next day.
No.
No,
On,
yeah,
on our show,
You show up.
yeah.
I did a sitcom for many years, Too Close for Comfort, with Ted Knight, and we
Yeah,
sat
yeah,
around
yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
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 I love Ted. I miss him. Thank you. And Audrey Meadows and Nancy Dussault and Jim Bullock and Deborah von Valkenburg. But we sat around reading. Yeah, Deborah von Valkenburg. And we read, table read Monday, and then we'd tell jokes by noon, and we'd get rid of the producers, and Ted would tell silly jokes, and we would goof off and play hooky, and then John Ritter would come visit from next door on the soundstage, and we wouldn't get to work at all. We were just children. Actors are basically children. So,
Well, but I can barely remember if I've left the iron on at home, when I leave. So you're telling me you didn't have the sessions where you went over the script. You
Yeah.
literally had the script given to you, and you literally
Start
had to
shooting it.
memorize, but
You
no one
better
would
on
cue
You
your
might have to
cards.
show up the next day. You might,
Yeah.
you'll audition, find out that afternoon that you have it. You probably have sides or scripts sent to you that night. You'll go over it and report the next day to shoot.
And then some directors make you rehearse a lot, some don't make you rehearse at all. But sitcoms, you get to rehearse like
Specifically the kissing
weeks.
scenes, right?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Nobody wanted to kiss me. That was I couldn't get that. I always wanted a romantic scene, and I never got that.
I'm not available. Anyway,
Every show I've done has had a really different schedule. In Living Color was my first series, and they really took advantage of that fact. I didn't know until I got to my second series that everybody doesn't shoot till 2 or 3 in the morning, that you didn't know your censors by their first name. But we, if I remember correctly, we started reading on a Monday, and we read the script, and we would the scripts, it was a variety show, a sketch variety show, and so the scripts would be seriously this thick, and they'd have lots of sketches in it that we would never tape, and we would tape out of order. We just shot sketches, and then they would put them together however they want. The next show that I did was a children's show. It's called On Our Own, a lovely, wonderful show. It only ran 1 season, but I discovered to always thereafter try to work with children because they can only work certain hours, and then you all get to go home. And then the next show I did was another 1-season show called The Show. That was really fun. And the difference there is I think I was the only person on the show that wasn't a stand-up comedian. So there was no real rehearsal unless like a theater background, because they would just refuse to rehearse. We got it. We don't want to do it again. Then it won't be funny. And they were allowed to get away with that. And well, I didn't improv. They improvised. They did whatever they wanted to do. And I stuck to the script. But the next series I did was Cosby, and that was the shortest schedule that I ever had. We came Monday, read the script once. The actors came, read the script, and went home. Tuesday, very different script based on Bill Cosby's notes. And we shot on Thursday, so we worked a 4-day week, and we got changes.
A couple years ago, and Larry you don't rehearse at all. You do all improv, and you make up your own lines.
Oh, that's nice.
You have to be the writer and the actor.
That's
And
talent.
did you get 2 checks for that, or I'm just curious?
No, but then they'll change it.
Fun.
They'll change it on your lines on the set. They'll come up and make notes and say, "We're going to change," and they give you a whole bunch of new lines that you have to know right then and there. That's
Wow.
scary. Like for Jag, actually, this actor didn't show up, and I had a huge 2-page monologue. And the director walked in and he goes, "We're so sorry, but it's lit for you for the courtroom scene. Can you do it now?" And I didn't know it. He took me in the corner. 10 minutes, I had it. He made me, and I'm the worst memorizer. He drilled me and drilled me and drilled me on it, and the whole thing was just no rehearsal, shot, bam, like that.
You guys are in the midst of talent here. I
Yeah.
couldn't do what they do. I'm sorry. I don't know if we can go ahead and close this out. And Emma's not in the room, right? Not? Okay, well, we're probably going to do that. If no one else has another question, if you want to shoot up to the microphone real quick, if you have one that you could think of. If not, I'm going to close out with
Here
a...
comes the gentleman right
here
here.
he comes.
Yeah.
Okay, while he walks up to the microphone, it's just been great having you guys here, so we really appreciate you showing up.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
All the jobs that you get in the industry as actors and actresses, you have to have the agent, correct?
Yes.
No. Yeah, it really depends. I mean, I've gotten probably 60% of the jobs I've gotten, they've been through agents. But in Living Color even, I got through a friend because he had auditioned for Keenan Ivory Wayans, the producer of In Living Color, in New York, and Keenan had told him that he was looking for people who do characters. And he called me, and I came to an open call in Chicago and did original material, and I didn't have an agent when I came here because I got the show directly from them. And then once I came, I met a lot of casting directors, and eventually they started calling me directly because I don't stay with an agent long. So there have been many times when I've been without representation, and fortunately, during those times, no, I'm not difficult at all. I just need what I need. No, but during those times, casting directors, and they wouldn't call me if I were difficult, I hope, but they've called me directly, which is really cool. And then going back to advice about being in this business, I started performing when I was a child before I knew that there was such a thing as Hollywood or an agent or a manager. I started writing and directing and producing my own shows in the living room. And, and eventually in school, and by high school, I was producing them for the general public. But I always go back to that when no one calls, then I create my own work. And so sometimes it's through an agent, sometimes it's not. It's a lot easier, though, if you not only have an agent, but have a good agent that's rooting for you.
Yeah, so important.
A lot of times, if you have a career that spans over decades, people start to ask for you. So basically, they'll ask for you, and you will take the deal to your agent, and an agent will negotiate for more money or
Perks.
Get first dollar gross point.
Make sure it's legit.
Make sure it's legit.
Yeah.
To get you billing, whatever billing you want, or associate producer credit, or
Right.
that kind of thing. So a lot of times, if you have an agent, it's good that you and that agent work well together, because it sometimes gets to the point where you want to make sure that the contract that you're going to sign has all of the stipulations that you want in it, and that takes two heads. Sometimes your agent will forget things.
Right.
You look around and say, okay, why? I did one show, one film years and years ago with, he died. Oh my God, I can't think of it. He was in the prison thing in Turkey.
John Hurt?
No,
Brad Davis?
Brad Davis.
Oh, Brad
Davis.
Davis.
Brad Davis. Yeah. Hang Fire was called, and I was third. It was Brad Davis, young lady that was in China Beach, and me, and then they had.
Dana Delaney.
Yeah, Delaney. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks for the help, folks. And but they had Lou Ferrigno, they had Lyle Zato, they had George Kennedy, they had Yaphet Kotto, and Jan Michael Vincent and others. And my agent forgot to negotiate that, as the credits ran and before the film, they had all these little vignettes of these people announcing Lou Ferrigno, announcing Jan Michael Vincent. I wasn't there. I'm in the back in the tail credits.
In the crawl.
Number 3. So, if you don't negotiate with your agent and make sure your agent understands what you want and what you're going to ask for, then there can be that can be a problem too. So it's good that you're both
Yeah.
on the same page.
And a nudity clause, because there was
Oh,
in that
God,
movie.
yeah.
I had to have. There was no nudity clause, and I didn't want to do nudity, and I had to trick the underwater photographer in the Greek Isles. I had to put zinc oxide all over myself so they couldn't get a shot underwater.
I've heard of Mickey Mouse Band-Aids. That's what Phoebe Cates did in Gremlins. That way, if by chance they happened to see something, you couldn't use it. But I've been fooled. Like I was doing
Cool.
Wishmaster. Yeah, I was doing Wishmaster too, and they're like, "Oh, there's no nudity, but you're gonna be naked in the shower scene. But don't worry, we won't show anything." Somebody from Artisan sent me a copy of it. There I was naked, and they were like, "Well, we'll give you 20,000. Keep it in the movie." I'm like, And so they had to spend all this money to lower something so you couldn't see. You know, now I'm like, God, you know, when I'm 60 or 90, I'm gonna be like, I wish I would have let. I look good. I look good back then.
I don't want my kids to see it.
But there's also after you do the show.
What was the name of that movie again?
No, it's out now. They cut it out. Oh, God. But after you also do a show or a film, you have to loop for yourself sometimes. Like that whole kissing scene, we had to loop it. Also, like that
That
when
means
What does that mean?
You talk for yourself. Like, so you watch your mouth, and you're in a room watching yourself on screen with a mic, and you're saying the words with your mouth.
when they don't get the sound the first time.
Yeah.
Re-record the sound.
called
There's like a
ADR.
train in the back, ADR,
Yeah,
and,
ADR,
and
and-
sometimes it could ruin a performance, or you can even make a performance better. But there's so much more to go. That you guys behind the scenes, there's so much more stuff
Yeah,
happening.
looping
which
is a talent in itself.
It's
you know,
fun.
Really good at it.
I run. Yeah,
Good at it.
I love looping.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay, folks, we're gonna end this so these guys can get on their way. To reemphasize, to reemphasize the fact that we all here for obviously a show that these good people have left indelible impressions on all of us. This is the reason why we wanted them to be amongst us. So we like to leave with that thought on Quantum Leap. So if I can go down the row and ask each one of you, I know this is hard. I mean, if you were a tree, no. Ask each one of you, instead of the one word, if you could find 2 words to describe both Scott, or either or Scott, and your dealings with him during the Quantum Leap era, what would you come up with? This is a test. You will be graded later. If you could think of 2 words of your enjoyment or your working with Scott and or Dean, what would come to your mind?
Starting at that end.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I think that the word that first popped in my mind for Scott is tireless, because I really got a good sense of how hard he was working, but not around. He didn't show it around us. He was extremely hospitable, and that would be the second word. And for Dean Stockwell, legendary and prankish.
Both Scott and Dean, personable. As I said, Scott had directed my episode, and he just had a very personable approach. He was, he treated like he'd known you 5 years, and he was fun to work with. The whole crew and the experience was fun.
Accommodating and kind. I found both of them that.
Sexy. Scott Bakula. He's sexy. And Dean is,
I gotta watch the pilot.
I have to say Dean is sexy too. Dean has that.
Yeah.
Eye wink, yeah.
For Scott, I would say kind and generous.
Yeah, very good-hearted. He actually had my videos of my scenes each day in his trailer, gave me the key and said, go watch your dailies and just lock up when you're done. Who does that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Amazing.
No one.
I would. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, that was after our kissing scene, so. I was like, maybe.
ladies and gentlemen, our first guest panel for Quantum Leap. Our Quantum Leap guest stars, how we feel, Cynthia Bain, Lydia Cornell, Ken Foree, Jim Townsend, and Takia Crystal Keymah.